Hey everyone, welcome. This is Edwin Olvera from Edwin Olvera Dance and Creative Services. And in this particular interview, it's with a French choreographer named Manuel Vignoulle. I met Manuel through a mutual friend named Amy Morrow, and I just want to say thank you so much, Amy, for getting us connected and having a wonderful interview. This interview was recorded back in June, the end of June, when I first started my 2.5-month work tour of doing freelance work with Pilobolus and then stuff with my own small business. What was so special about this interview is that Manuel and I kicked it off right away. We hit it off right away as it seems like great friends. I mean, we understand the dance world and how it brings people together or it can take people apart. We have a lot of things in common. And I promised him that I would go see his performance at Jacob's Pillow on July 27th, which was my birthday, and I turned 36 then. And the beautiful treat was to see Manuel and his partner, Renee, perform their duet called Black and White, and it was simply breathtaking. The backdrop was the scenery over in Massachusetts, where you have all these beautiful trees, and it's outdoor stage, just simply breathtaking. I hope you guys get a chance to see Manuel perform some of his new work in the East Coast, as well as where he's traveling and doing maybe some master classes for 2016 and 2017. Again, I would highly recommend checking out his work. You can find out more information on Manuel at his website, and there may be a couple noises here and there. It's because we were outside at Central Park in New York, close to a spot that I treasure the most over by Columbus Circle, and it's because when I was dancing with Pilobolus, it was the place that I was staying at when I got the job. So with that being said, enjoy the interview, and please make sure to leave comments down below at the end of this video, and also reach out to Manuel. Check out what he's doing in your neck of the woods. Okay, hey everyone, this is Edwin Olvera from Edwin Olvera Dance and Creative Services, and I'm here right now after about a 2-month break from doing interviews, and I'm in a very special place. I'm in New York right now, and I'm getting a chance to interview a world-renowned choreographer, and his name is Manuel, but I can't pronounce your name.
Vignoulle.
Say it again?
Vignoulle.
Vignoulle. What does that mean?
Nothing. It's just nothing specifically.
Nothing specifically.
Yeah.
So what's so special about this interview is it was set up through a mutual friend named Amy Morrow. So Amy, thank you so much for getting us in contact and having this interview come to life. I was mentioning earlier to Manuel that what's so special about this place is that when I first got the job with Pilobolus Dance Theater, it was one of the areas that I was staying at when I was doing the audition. Again, we're in Central Park. It's a nice hot summer day. It's about June, and we'll go from here. So, Manuel, when you were younger, what were some early signs that either you or your parents noticed that you were going to become a performer or a dancer?
Okay, I remember because my parents told me. And when I was 3 years old, for Christmas, we planned to see like a child TV show called Émilie Jolie, The Beautiful Emily. It was a story for kids.
Yeah.
And then they put the wrong channel, and we ended up seeing like something from the Paris Opera.
Yeah.
And they were not able to change the channel because I was like, no, I want to see Paris Opera. I don't want to see the other thing. So I think that was like one sign.
That was instant,
yeah.
Instantaneously. I noticed that with my kids. I have two. I have a little boy and a little girl. And I notice now that my daughter wants to be the dancer, and my son wants to be the creator or some engineer or something. There's a hyper focus that you see early on with kids where they are committing to something that they don't grasp fully, but it's capturing their attention 100%.
Yeah.
And for you, it was just watching that video of the ballet.
Yes.
Right?
And I could not stop.
And you could not stop. Did you find yourself, like after that particular moment, did you find yourself watching more dance videos, or
then
or
my
seeing
parents
live
kept
art?
on bringing me to more dance shows very early when I
More
was
dance shows?
when I was 4 or 5.
Yeah.
And I loved it every single time. So
Yeah.
yes.
And then at what age did you actually start taking dance? Like, and what style of dance was it?
I started like really early when I was 2.5. You know, for kids, you play with balloons and ribbons.
Yeah.
And I love to move around, and I had so much energy, so I think it was kind of a relief for my parents to put me in a place where I can just get a little crazy.
Vent the
Yes,
engines.
and spend lots of energy. And after I kept on going, I think at 6 years old I did my first ballet class. At 8 I did my first jazz modern class. 9 I stopped dancing because I was tired to hear, oh, faggot dancer in class. So I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do gymnastic. So I did like 6 months of gymnastic, but
Were you doing tumbling stuff, like
Yeah.
a floor work, or were you doing like rings?
No, it was, I mean, I was nine years old,
Yeah.
so you cannot do much, but
Yeah.
still it's the beginning of all the stuff you
Yes.
were talking about. But I didn't really like the way they were teaching it.
Yeah.
It was just kind of, I mean, like gymnastics is kind of violent. When you stretch, they push you, they wait for you to cry.
Yeah.
So basically after 6 months, I told my parents, hey, come and have a look of what I'm doing. And then after my mother, I remember she was like, oh, so you want to stop gymnastics? I'm like, yes. And then I went back to dance.
Isn't it something how, depending on how people are teaching you their method, whether it's dance or some physical sport like football or track, it doesn't matter. If you have a great teacher, it makes the child or the person blossom. But when you have someone that's being regimental, like a drill sergeant, yelling at you, mistreating you, forcing you into something you don't really want to do, it closes the person down.
Yeah.
And you lose interest right away.
Mm.
So that's wonderful. You talked about doing ballet, you talked about doing modern and a little bit of jazz. What were some other dances that you explored between the ages of, like, say, 7 all the way to about like 15 or 18?
I did a little of Spanish dancing.
Oh, really? Like flamenco?
Flamenco,
Oh.
a little bit.
Yeah.
And little bit of rock acrobatic. Do you say that? Rock and roll?
Rock and roll?
Yeah, with
Really?
the acrobatic stuff.
Really?
But mainly, yeah.
Not rhythmic gymnastics, you know, where
No,
people
no,
are-
no.
No.
Just rock and roll where you throw people around.
Really?
Yes. I did this a little bit, and mainly dancing in clubs.
Dancing in clubs, huh? Yeah. When my twin brother Roberto and I, we were living in a place called Green Bay, Wisconsin. Very boring. So when we were 16, our way of venting out and letting ourselves explore movement was the nightclubs. It was like between 16 and 18.
Exactly.
And they had like pop music and everything, and everyone was what you call grinding. They're all dancing on each other. But Roberto and I, we got to a point where we're like, that's kind of boring. The fact that you're constantly like on a female or on another person. We wanted to explore the possibilities of getting away from the body, and seeing what happens. That took a lot of time and courage. That happens a way later. So interesting. In Europe, as in like South America and other places, you know, going out to like nightclubs and stuff is very different. Some people start going out like at 16, or you know, or even drinking. What is like say the drinking age in France or something? I guess it's because it just paints a better picture of like how kids are going out and socializing and stuff.
Drinking, I guess it's from 18 you can drink.
Oh, got it. Yeah.
But everybody start to drink at 15. I mean, like here in the States.
It's just an unspoken thing.
Yes. No, but I think that's the reality.
Yeah, that's true. Oh man, that's so funny. When you got into contemporary and into ballet, really heavily into ballet. I was in your bio, you talk about being with Cedar Lake. Am I correct?
Yeah.
And there was another company in Switzerland. What is that?
Yeah, le Ballet du Grand Théâtre de Genève.
I apologize.
Yeah, I call it Geneva Ballet to make it
Geneva Ballet.
simpler. That was rep companies. That's pretty much what I did at the end of my career as a dancer.
Oh, as a dancer, got it.
And it was, but before I really started, I did a very contemporary formation in Paris. And then I worked for 3 years with contemporary French choreographers. And after I was a little sad about the level. I think I was expecting something more.
Yeah. And it wasn't fulfilling at a certain point.
Yeah,
right?
for me, it wasn't.
What was being presented probably wasn't matching internally what you were thinking or physical, and so.
Yeah, and it was like, oh, if I spend so much years dancing, and I wanted to reach somehow what I would call a higher level, but I didn't know how to do. So I ended up meeting Redha, which is a modern choreographer, and with him he opened me to.
Was he modern jazz?
More modern jazz.
Yeah, got it. I was reading that.
And he opened me to different world, the TV world, commercial world,
exposure.
Broadway shows, operette, and also a concert dance with his company.
Yeah.
And I was able to assist him in on big companies like Het Nationale Ballet in Amsterdam, Alvin Ailey in New York.
Wow.
And another state theater company in South Africa. And I saw all those beautiful dancers, more ballet trained somehow, or more trained than I was.
You see it right away.
It was so inspiring. And we had pretty much the same age. And I was like, okay, that's what I want to do. So 4 years later, when I stopped working with Redha, then I was like, okay, I had this objective that I call my dream objective.
Yeah.
And I start training in ballet because I really wanted to do something more contemporary ballet. But at that time, I thought contemporary ballet was more Forsyth or Matzek or things like that. And that's really what I had in my head. So for 1 year and a half, I've been like really working with in ballet with 12 years old girls, way better than I. But because I had my network in the commercial work, I was maybe working a week or 10 days a month, and then had like those 20 days where I could like train like crazy.
And you were in a class with girls who were in their 12 years old, huh?
And I was 24.
Wow, that's...
But that was my objective, and everybody was like, oh, but why do you do that? You're a contemporary dancer. But I'm like, no, till I can do it, because I refused all the contemporary contract I had.
Yeah.
And I really tried all the more balletic companies for a year and a half. And I had like one highlight, I would say. I worked for 6 months with Edwin La 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 Human Step. And that was, I think, the more balletic thing I ever done.
Really?
Because it's based on ballet movement, but it's as fast as the human body can go.
Can respond.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it was more, for me, it was more like sport than art, but it was a very interesting experience. And then I was like auditioning for a year and a half, and I heard that maybe they have like some space. They were looking for one dancer in Geneva Ballet. So I went there, I took the class, and they were like, oh no, sorry, we're not looking for anyone.
The door was shut.
Yes.
And you found a way to get in.
And the next day I stayed because it was just a good class and convenient for me, and an hour drive from my parents' place that I didn't get to see so often at that time. So I stayed, and the next day the director said, oh, I'm so glad you came back because I think I have a spot for you. So, and then I had a contract and I stayed for 5 years.
What you bring up is a wonderful point. It's about being persistent.
Yes.
Being persistent. A lot of young dancers take it personal, they get emotional when doors close in front of them. Their dream company closes, or they say you're not right for the audition. And when they hear that, they do a number of things. One, they get totally emotional and they blow from it. Two, they forget to ask you have every right to go to a choreographer and say to him or her after the audition, you know, what are some things that I wasn't good at and how can I improve?
Yeah.
Or simply like what you did, which is to wait, come back again. Because you never know. One day they might have had one thing in mind, and the next day they feel better. Or they, you know, the people who are auditioning or who own the company, it's, you know, it's like a turning door. You never know if you're going to get in or out, but you want to be in there just in case the door has a crack. You can get in.
Yeah, it's more about the good timing. It's not so much. It's not only about your talent. It's a lot about your connections and good timing.
Yeah,
I would say.
good timing is everything. I talked about, just going quickly into my website, I talked about in one of my videos about how dancers, there are different ways for an artist to work with a professional company. One of the ways I talk about is, you know, going to the auditions. Why? Because then, whether you make it or you don't, you get a chance to take a free masterclass. And
Yes.
on top of that, you get exposure to the company. It's your first interaction with another person to possibly do business, whether you're an employee or a performer. They see you, they may like you or they don't, but over time, if you keep sticking by them, you build trust with them, you'll find some way to get in the company. Whether you're doing offshoot, like for example, corporate work, you know, Palabras is always looking for extra dancers to help do shadow stuff. They may never dance in the main company, but they'll find a way to get them in someplace. Or, hey, maybe you might be helping with doing the road work, you know, putting away the costumes. But anything that you can do to get yourself in there and build trust with that other company is super important. And like, you know, just as I brought this topic up, a lot of young artists, they don't think about that. The first thing is the rejection, and then they shut down, you know?
Yeah.
But you became persistent. You said, I'll come back another day. Maybe if that third day didn't work, come back in a week. You know, find a way to keep being there. Somebody's gonna like you, you know, and it was the right time for you. So how wonderful. As we both know, artists get injured. I talked earlier as we were walking this way, you know, that I have this old injury from my 20s in my hamstring, and I really feel it now. And so I'm constantly, before you came, I was stretching my hamstring, trying to like make it pop, right, let it release. So, as a performer, what's the worst injury you've ever had? How did you overcome it? And what are some precautionary things that you do, or maintenance, to help keep your body, you know, into the best shape? You're in physical shape as is. Aesthetically, you're very in shape, very
Thank
low
you.
body fat. You're very fit. My God. So this is a really big question, you know.
I had few injuries and surgeries. I would say mainly, but the worst was my both knees. I did.
Cartilage at all?
I had like just the the meniscus on the left knee, and 3 months later I cut my patella tendon, 30% of my patella tendon.
Really?
So
How did that happen?
I was messing around with a friend of mine.
Joking around.
Joking around and dancing in the living room, jumping on top of each other, and because I jumped on top of him, and because my weight was obviously too heavy for him, he bent forward, and then I fell on a plexiglass table.
The corner or something?
The corner, and then that's how I cut my patella tendon.
When you felt that happen, did you feel like something coiled up, or the knee locked, or?
No, I felt it was open, and I looked at it and was like, okay, I need stitches. But because we were having such a huge party, I just taped it, and I kept on partying. But at the end of the evening, I could barely walk. So
When the adrenaline settled.
Yes.
And the party subsided.
Yes. So I went to see a general doctor, and I had some stitches, but somehow, and I started my season of dance after, and somehow it wasn't well. My knee was still puffy, and then I think the worst part was we didn't really know what to do. It was a little unclear, but even
the treatment,
the surgeon was, because we had surgeon seeing me every week, and it was I don't know why you don't get better. And so I ended up having a surgery just to clean around things, and then after that it went very fast. But the process, the worst is the process when you wait and you don't know what's going on.
Because
you know
could be
something
doing secondary damage.
Yeah.
because the initial damage is happening there, but again, your body's compensated, whether it's in the other side of the leg or up here or down below.
Yeah, or you're on the side and then you stop dancing for the company and you're like, okay, I'm going to be off for 1 week, but then 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 8 weeks.
That's loss of money too when you're not
and not in Switzerland. They pay you.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's the super system.
In America, that's a side note.
I know.
In America, you will have no money doing that.
I know. But even your director, I mean, you start to lose the trust of your director. So, you know, it's so.
Got it.
So I did the surgery, and after I went back to a specialized center for rehabilitation, reeducation.
Yeah.
And here I did like for 4 weeks something very intense, like 8 hours a day of strengthening.
Strengthening?
Yeah, strengthening, and then I came back, I was in a better shape.
Than before?
Than some of the other dancers, yes, and than before, I would say.
This is interesting how I fractured my heel, my calcaneus bone, right? I really never learned how to absorb shock through a plie. So my first year in Pilabolus, they would always throw me and I would literally land on my heels. Well, after a year of that type of impact, right after the Joyce season, I think 2 weeks into rehearsal, it was the hairline fracture got bigger, and so I had to be off work for like, I think it was like 2.5 months. It was very I don't know. I felt kind of hopeless. You know, I felt like I wasn't a part of my team anymore. But I did everything I could, whether it was like doing Pilates or my yoga, staying off my feet, but still conditioning my upper body. And slowly, little by little, they brought me back in. But it takes time, you know. Recovery is. I was very strong. I got very strong in that time off, but I felt like mentally my mind got off, you know.
Yeah. Total with both knees, I stopped for 11 months.
11 months?
Yes.
And what did you do in those 11 months as a substitution for movement or for the dancing?
The first few months I was literally waiting because I thought it would go like very fast. And I realized I was a lot in my head and kind of starting to be depressed.
Yeah.
And when
doubt kicks in, depression, loneliness.
Yes,
I'm
and
not doing what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yes.
Right.
And then I start to do more physical activities, even just strengthening, and it start to change totally my perception of things. And now to maintain my body was more when I was in Cedar Lake, and because we were doing such a different style of rep, physically it was very hard. I was like, I think 33. And one guy of the company who was also like struggling with some injuries and things, but very strong, he was like, oh, you know, I'm doing yoga for a month now, and it really changed everything. And I told him, okay, we were at the Joyce also, and I was like, by the end of that week, I'm starting yoga. And I started yoga. And
you're in the city, huh?
In the city.
What was the session you were going? What place you were going?
I think Yoga Works.
Oh, Yoga Works, yeah.
And that's why I started yoga.
And do you know what style was it?
Oh, it was more
vinyasa flow, power.
Yeah, vinyasa flow.
Yeah, when I first started yoga, my teacher, her name is Janet Lilly, was a former principal dancer for Bill T. Jones. Mm-hmm. Got me into yoga. She got me into Iyengar, right? I needed it. I was really big and bulky. But then being in Pilabolus, I started getting more into like a vinyasa flow or Ishtanga because I needed the strength and then also the flexibility in the strength, right? Yeah. So interesting. And now you still continue yoga then?
I'm on and off,
yeah.
But when I feel I'm off balance or I start to be very tight, yes, I go back to yoga.
Into it.
Yeah.
Your practices, are they average between like 30 minutes, 45 minutes, an hour?
Per day?
Yeah. Or when you do the session?
No, if I do a session, it's a good hour.
Oh, got it.
An hour 15, 20.
Oh, that's good.
Especially if I try to do, I'm going to say try because I'm not, the Ashtanga Sari 1.
Yeah,
that's I spend lots of time. Even if I try to go fast, I still spend an hour 20 easily. Yeah. Now in my class and my warm-up, I always do 15-20 minutes of yoga as preparation.
As
I
a
think,
preparation.
yeah, I think
Beforehand,
it's
yeah.
beforehand. I think it's because I'm kind of a stiff dancer, so before when I arrive to the demi-plie, my body is conditioned. I've been doing, because mainly if you remove the spiritual part of yoga, it's active stretch.
It's active stretch. It's great.
And yeah, I think it removes lots of knots in your body. So.
And the thing is, you do it.
And you breathe.
Yeah,
also, you learn how to breathe,
Yeah.
and you try to bring it in your warm-up afterwards.
Oh, wonderful. As you know, artists, we always get inspired by something. Currently, for me, what's inspiring me is constantly doing these interviews. Like, I'm really fascinated about that. The other thing is the nature of the business side of being an artist. I'm really fascinated with that. For you, as an artist, as a choreographer, as a dancer who's going to be their 40s, right? Your life now is different from when you were 20, when you first had that spark of God, I want to do this. Now you've been doing it. So what is keeping you inspired? Whether it's a good book or a social movement that's happening, or maybe simply, some people get really inspired by nature. So I wonder, what is it that makes you feel uplifted?
I think the first inspiration for about dance is how much the body can handle, and how much the body can, to go beyond your limits, and just the physicality. I always love some very physical work.
Yeah.
I love to see people being uncomfortable in situation, and it's not just to see them uncomfortable, but how do they solve the situation, or how do they find their own ways to solve the issue.
To solve the issue, or at least cope with what's going on.
And also physically, sometimes they're because I have some dancers, they're oh, it's hard, but I'm I'm not here, and they're not here to see dancers struggling, but I'm interested in seeing you finding your way, because we're all different, we all have different bodies, so how with your body can you find your way of doing the same thing that other people are doing? And yeah, I think the challenge is very exciting for me. So I love to see gymnastics, even though sometimes of course it's not as artistic as dance, but nowadays I think the gap is getting smaller and smaller, and they have this they know how to be exactly together. I think it's just high level of physicality that I love. So that would be my first inspiration for choreography. Other things, it's it can be after, maybe it's gonna it can be a movie, it can be a book, it can be just a situation that I just lived or that I witnessed. For a long time I loved nightclub for that. Old people reacting to each other, and it's a kind of
it's kind of like an unspoken. When I was in my 20s, when my twin brother Roberto and I, when we were about 21 to about 24, before we got into Palablas and Momix and these companies, we were doing. Robert was doing kind of go-go dancing in the nightclubs, right? And I was doing the lighting and the not DJing but the sound, and just being around the nightlife, whether people are drunk, right, under the influence, or whether they're trying to show off for the opposite sex or the same sex. It's funny how the nightclub enhances these things, you know?
Or embody a character for the evening.
Maybe you're not a rich person, but in the nightclub, if you're buying drinks for the right person, you feel much more. Or if you're trying to appeal to the other person, maybe act a little sexier, crazier. You're trying to entice them, the tease that happens, right? It's so funny. The nightclub.
So I think that's a small world in the world, but
Yeah.
in this world you can see the human mechanism,
Yeah.
like you said about seduction, about
Yeah,
appearance, and because at the end I keep on choreographing. I'm very interested to emphasize the connection between human beings,
Yeah.
because I think now in the society we like very
Robotic.
and individuals.
Yeah, and
And-
stuck to stupid devices. You see it all the time.
Also.
Yeah, you see, I find it very hard to be walking, especially through the city as well, and I see a lot of people looking down at their phone versus looking at the beauty. I mean, there's so much beautiful inspiration. You see
Yeah.
these new buildings going up, you see beautiful people walking the streets, great fashion, smells, everything, and to be stuck to a stupid screen, which is confining your field of view to something that's no more than 2 inches by 3 inches is just insanity.
That's New York sickness or big city sickness, I
But
would
it's
say.
a sickness not just in New York though. It's just here in a larger city you see a lot more of it. Then when you go to a city where I live in, like in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, you see it as well. You see people checking out of reality because what they become, I feel, they're becoming kind of robotic because they're relying so much on these devices. On the other hand, they're becoming very antisocial because in order for you and I to connect, it's through the phone. You know, like, hey, I miss you, I love you. Oh, I'm right here, I'm around the corner. It's like, instead of waving, instead of making the scene, hey, I'm over here, you know, it's weird.
I know.
You're
That's
slowly
problem of communication
containing-
now. And also I feel people, they need a little hope through the arts.
They need hope.
Hope, yes.
Yeah.
So I love to have something that opens a window or a big door
Yeah.
at the end, something.
What's so beautiful about dance, the performing arts, is that it's also what you call entertainment. Whether it's something on Broadway, a commercial that people are watching, or a play on, you know, it's you're entertaining their mind. Even the word itself, you know, entertainment. You're going into the mente, the mind. You're taking away people's worries or sorrows for that day, for that moment, and you're substituting it with something beautiful or something that's going to make them wake the fuck up, you know, and say like, I never thought about that. I never thought about that people could have this sexual encounter, a relationship on stage, present it like this, You know, it's like, it wakes you up. And that's what, one of the things our director, now who's passed on, named Jonathan Walken, he talked about, like, I don't care if you like it or you hate his choreography. I just want you to wake up. Just wake up. See things something different. Push, what he says, push your envelope, you know? Push your comfort zone. He was very... I felt like what inspired him, you know, just kind of tying that philosophy, method of movement in, and what inspired him was people's baggage. What I mean by that is, he found excitement when artists would come in and talk about their troubles with the relationship, or their financial woes, or their spiritual confusion, you know? That was interesting for work. Bring that shit in. Bring it to the studio. Let's make some crazy dances off you being neurotic.
Yeah.
That's what I'm trying. That's inspiring too. That it's okay that you can take your crazy shit, your taboos, your secrets, your vices, bring them into the dance, see what comes out. Because in that essence of your stuff that you're trying to keep quiet or you're trying to have therapy on or explore, it's going to resonate with the audience. Because someone in the audience maybe have dealt with depression or have dealt with a loss or an identity crisis, you know, like, you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Sometimes the baggage makes for excellent work, but are you, as the artist, are you comfortable for bringing that shit into the studio, you know? I believe you are. You know, you have that one piece, what is it called? It's Between the Man and the Shifting Shadows, I think it is?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a great duet. Oh my God, I was like looking at this, that is some crazy shit. Like when the guy's wrapped around, you're facing this way and he's wrapped this way, the other way, and he's like wrapped with his legs around your back. He's contorted.
Yes.
Crazy. Speaking of that piece, what inspired you in that piece? What caused you to create that duet?
That was
Because it was powerful and the music was brilliant.
It was actually just a picture of like a man being scared by his own shadow.
Oh, really?
And it was in a friend of mine's place. She had this picture, and all this picture like really appealed.
Resonated with you? Yeah,
all the time.
Yeah.
And then when I started this idea of having like yourself and what would be all your shadows is all the different you who are maybe less comfortable or kind of hidden parts.
The hidden parts of the
yeah,
self,
the
huh?
thing you're ashamed of.
Yeah.
So the thing you don't know, the thing, all your fantasies.
Oh, your fantasies, yeah.
You know, it can be so many things
Yeah.
that you put it in the shadow world,
Yeah.
and
The unspoken world, the
Exactly.
unseen. Yeah. And in that duet, you're showing that.
yeah.
Got it.
Yeah,
It's crazy.
and that's the idea to shifting
Yeah.
so one become the shadow of the other, and then we switch,
Yeah.
and then you don't know who is the real person,
yeah.
who's the shadow, who's the
It's amazing. Your video clips, and I wrote this as a note. I put that whoever's doing your editing for your videos is doing an amazing
nice.
job.
I did myself.
Yeah, man. The edits are everything. They're important, right? That small. We live in a society where 2 minutes can be too long.
Yeah.
Right? And so when you capture someone in a minute and a half to 2 minutes, it's really powerful. And I was like, oh my God, who's doing that? Who's doing the edits of this? Who's picking the music? You must have picked all the music, huh?
Nice. Yes. Yeah, and the music, it's Alvin Ailey, and I was very interested with this super electronic music, kind of cold music. Yes.
Kind of cold music.
Yes, kind of cold.
I want to talk about a couple of your dances. This is kind of going before another question, but that's okay because I love to comment on what I saw. I wrote this to myself. I said, I found myself wanting to replicate your moves. They were so powerful just by watching the video that I felt myself doing, and I showed it here, this weird, you have this downward spiral motion like in the back. It's really cool. So I was like, I kept, and my brother's wife, Hannah, she saw me in the kitchen and she's like, what the hell are you doing? And I kept trying to spiral because it's aesthetically pleasing to the eye. So I wanted to replicate it, see how I can articulate it or manifest it in my body.
Nice.
The other thing I wrote down is a question. The question is for you. Do you feel like the dance is a form of therapy?
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. This is going on one of the pieces that you sent me in the email. It's called "Walls Are Here to Fall." I didn't read any of the descriptions. This is just based off the videos itself, and then later I went to your website and I started looking at the descriptions. I put one. It reminded me of kind of like Batsheva, the Gaga style of movement. Physical theater, very physically expressive. Great partnering in moves, entanglement, contortion. Like the body's being contorted. It was very low, and there was struggle there. Yeah. And then the all white, the costumes as a sense of purity. There's this kind of like, deformity that's happening, and then at the same time they look so beautiful and graceful at the same time, right? This juxtaposed position. I put, why 4 dancers? Why only 4?
Actually, we were supposed to be 6, but it was a money issue.
Yeah.
And it was a commission from the Satellite Collective.
Yeah.
And just before I cast the dancer, I talked to the director and I said, so we're still good for 6? And he was like, no, sorry, for this year we're going to do 4.
Well, you got to make the choice, right?
But actually, because of now it's so expensive to travel with lots of dancers, I still feel than 4 it can be still very powerful. And we can still play with how we mix people.
You still have options, right?
Yeah,
you
I still have lots
the
of
single,
options.
a duo, a trio,
Yeah.
the quartet. Like you
Yeah.
still have those variations of.
I think I use most of my options. I just decide for this piece to do man-man duet and woman-woman duet. Because in a piece before, they were always, I did just duets, men-women.
Yeah.
So I really wanted to change, and it's funny that you say the white, you see the purity, which I love.
Yeah.
Other people saw asylum.
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 Oh yeah, when people are crazy, they
Yeah.
normally all
They-
white, locked up, and
yeah.
put the padded raw.
So I like the fact the costumes are they're white, but it leaves space for the imagination.
Yeah, wonderful. And also the lighting in the cubes. You know,
Yes.
when you put it's a subconscious or representation of like a 4-padded wall room, and you see the guys, you know, doing their stuff, pushing it, and then they all release, and then they're kind of go up, they're kind of crazy, they, you know, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, for those of you listening, you're not going to understand that unless you watch the video. I highly recommend going to his website and watching it. It's called "Walls Are Here to Fall." There's another one. It's called I'm going to say it wrong. Mona
Nui.
Mona Nui. What does that mean?
It means
It's
ocean.
French,
No, it's
No.
actually it's
Is it Hawaiian?
New Zealand.
Oh, New Zealand.
Yes.
Yeah. Mona Nui.
Mona Nui.
Mona Nui. I love the part where the people are on their back. They're literally in a shoulder stand, like a yoga shoulder stand, you know, and you see the legs and the arms kind of out like this. Crazy. Or the person who's doing the handstand, the very
at the beginning.
I'm like, God, she's holding it for that long.
She's been doing circus at the beginning,
God,
and I
no
was
wonder
like,
why she has that
okay, I
control.
was like, okay, show me your tricks, and I saw that, and it was so
Powerful.
and out of this world and in suspension. I'm like, okay, let's open the piece this way.
And the music, I tried to do a visual representation, like as a steady build-up or like a wave or, you know, something that's going to be grand. I didn't hear the very last bit, but I got to about like 5 minutes out of the 6-minute video or 7-minute video, and I kept hearing the thing grow and get bigger and fuller. One question came to, you know, how are you counting that? Because it's a steady increase in the music. And the second thing is, what happened? Did the music crash down? Did it die? Or did it get louder? I don't know.
Okay, at one point they because it's only voice, kind of juxtaposition of voices, but for the sake of being all together, at one point I just put a heartbeat that you can only hear if you put the headphones.
Oh, really?
But there's a heartbeat. This way they can count on it.
Oh,
especially when
when they're doing all this.
Yeah, or they all start to go forward like robots or things. And so for this piece I was really inspired by the ocean, just the waves of the ocean, the currents. And actually at the end it's just dropping down.
Oh, got it. Like as if it's a big crash.
Yes.
Okay, I got to rewatch that video. I never saw the end. I stopped right at 5 minutes. I was like, God damn, I got to look at all the other ones. You know, I got to take time. I think it's Misery.
Yes,
right?
Miserere.
Yeah, with the girl
with the gas mask.
Yeah, the gas mask. It reminded me, just because when I was younger I used to play a lot of video games, it reminded me of a piece called Metal Gear Solid. You ever hear that game?
No.
There's a character in there who wears this mask, right? It's a male character, really lengthy, crazy, scary, but it was a female, very beautiful, right? Looks like she's in an elevator shaft or something, like a hall,
she
right?
is.
With the mirrors, or maybe in the dark, like maybe a hall with a mirror on one side, dark, whatever. But it looked very commercial, like a movie, like as if somebody was very high definition recorded, great editing, good special effects on it, the glow, you know what I mean, of the focal point of the thing. We're going back and we're just talking about a piece that you did with the mask on. Anyway, the reason why I brought it up, it's called what again? It's called
Miserere.
Oh man, I'll mess it up. That's why I never learn.
Miserere.
Anyway, I mentioned about how it being very like commercial, like the way it was presented, choreographed, many angles, the editing of it looks wonderful. I thought of two things. I thought about, did you ever think of, in the commercial realm, right, in movies, they hire what's called like a movement artist or like a physical artist for like 3D rendering. Did you ever think of utilizing your talents to become like specialized characters if necessary, whether it be for like a video game or for like an animation of a movie? Because your movement is very, very different, and it's different from a lot of the other physical movers that I've seen, or suit performers is what they're called. I only bring it up because maybe that's another avenue in the commercial world that could utilize your form of movement.
I never thought about that, but I love to experiment things.
Yeah.
So I'm always super open-minded to bring dance, in different realms.
What about dance in 3D? You know, because now the new way of entertainment is the Oculus or these new devices that put you in the 3D realm. Imagine your movement where people put these glasses on, the whole show is in 3D. and in order for them to come watch the show, they literally have to have these glasses, pay the ticket in advance, and it's just everywhere you look is your dancing in 3D.
That could be nice, yes.
You got to get sponsorship on that one. The technology is going to be pretty expensive.
Yes.
Let's continue on with this question. It pertains to current collaborations. Tomorrow you have a performance.
Yes.
Yeah? Can you talk about it's a benefit that it's
having, right? It's a benefit called Let's Move Now. It's Nigel and Channel. They're organizing, like they're trying to bring some kids from the Bronx who have no money to
see art, live art.
Or no, it's more they have no money to do a summer intensive. It's more teenagers.
They don't have the funding for them to expand their talents in the movement.
And so they asked us if we could help them and be part of their benefit concert. So of course I talked with Rina, who is my partner, and she's dancing also with me in that piece called Black and White. And so we said, of course, yes. And tomorrow it's the premiere in New York of the full version. It's 21 minutes.
Of Black and White.
It's
the duet.
It's a duet.
Yes, that's really beautiful.
Yeah, and we did this duet for. What you saw is just now the second part of the duet, and it's 9 minutes the second part.
Yeah.
And we've been touring last year just those 9 minutes.
Yeah.
And last week we did the premiere in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. We had a residency there, so we performed there twice already.
Wow.
And I'm very excited to premiere it in New York.
Yeah, it's gonna be a big deal.
It's in a small space, so we won't be able to have the costume flying down from the ceiling.
Yeah.
But I think it can still be very nice and intimate.
Yeah. You can still give them a lot.
Yes.
Yeah, without having some of these extra bells and whistles that you would like.
Yes.
It's great when you have them, right?
Yes.
And when you don't, well, you still there's other.
But usually
stand for itself as well.
Usually I'm trying to use not so much settings to keep it like very simple, the body in the space, and lights, of course. Good lights.
What's the color of the lighting? Is it just like white and shadowistic?
Yeah, usually it's more. I like white. I'm not so much of a rainbow person or cyclo. I love the black box, and I love seeing people kind of lost in the immensity.
Yeah. Of the stage. Yeah. Of course.
And it's just because it keeps
you're featuring them.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Just look at this. You clear everything out. Clear the rest of the shit that distracts people. See it for what it is.
And I love when it feels kind of unreal. Like.
Oh yeah. Again, this is the entertainment part.
Yes.
Put people in a different place.
Yeah.
Next question has to do with. I lost my train of thought.
Sorry.
It's right here. No. So the next question is. This has to do with the business side of dance, right? Because you have a company or you have a freelance maybe company. I don't know the ramifications of it. I don't know if you're non-profit or for-profit, however that works. But if you talk about just one thing that you would like to see as a vision for your company, whether it's in the next year or 3 years, right? This is kind of in traditional business sense, the way they think that you want to see where the company goes the first 5 months, year, 3 years out, 5 years. So where do you envision yourself, what you're doing, or you're with your company within a year or within 3 years?
So I have few things with the company. It's more a project-based company, just for financial reasons. So for now, I just do projects here and there.
And their pickup with just artists that you say do an audition, get some freelance artists, or whether you might have your go-to guys or women. You know what I mean?
Usually it's people who went through my open classes.
Oh, got it. Who's already experienced your technique?
Yes, and then I can see how they react, or it can be also someone that I saw for a few times, but I have a good feeling, and I think they're gonna match perfectly with what I'm looking for. I try to keep a base of dancers that I really like, but because they're also freelancing,
Unfortunately, they get taken up.
Yes, and I have to play with this, and I also love to bring like new blood in the creation, just for everyone not to stay too comfortable.
A new artist into the group forms a new form of communication.
Exactly.
And also, they offer a new form of vocabulary of their skill sets.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe they don't have the best turnout, but they have maybe they have a really good transitioning to the floor.
Yeah.
Or the fact that a person could be physically strong to be doing a lot of lifting or carrying. Or that young lady you had to do the damn handstand. That was a long handstand. Right?
Yes.
It makes for interesting work as well.
Yeah. So these parts for the company, I hope and I'm like non-profit company, but not officially. Actually, I'm fiscally sponsored by New York Live Arts right now. New York Live Arts.
Okay, got it.
And so for me, I don't feel that I need to have the official thing
501c3 status
for now, at least. If we start to have way more work, then I will do that. But for now, the way it is, I think it's great.
It's manageable.
And I have the other part where I do lots of commissions for other companies.
Yeah.
So my main goal in the next few years is just like to have like enough work for the company, half of the year, and other half of the year doing commissions for other companies.
Yeah.
I love to do commissions for other companies because it's also different dancers, so I need to adapt with them, and I love to do my company because then I feel I can be extremely rigorous with the style I want and how I want them to move.
Got it.
With the body they have.
Yeah.
So that's why I love to have both.
Both options.
Yes, and I think if it's too much of one or too much of the other, it would be frustrating because it would be too much of the same.
Yeah.
The same approach, I would say.
And
even though
it's forcing your mind to think in two different creative ways.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And now I'm also trying to developing more balletic work also because I'm very interested to see what we can do with point shoes and how we can transform things. What I would miss in the contemporary world is dancers. They don't jump much.
They don't jump, really?
No, I feel they don't jump a lot.
They got to get high in the sky.
Yeah.
Give them a toss, throw them.
And what I miss in the ballet world is they don't use any floor work.
That's so true.
And I would love to kind of mix
Getting dirty
in
is
both.
almost taboo for them, you know?
Because I think the technicity of the ballet dancer is really crazy. They can do so many things, but I also love the quality of movements of the contemporary dancers.
Yeah.
So I think if I could mix
a nice marriage of the two.
Yes, them, they could really learn from each other, and that's what I'm trying. Every time I'm doing a new creation, because it's not like crazy paid for now, I'm always very concerned about, okay, at least I want to be sure they learn something from each other, or there's something worth it.
So you also care about the process.
Yes.
Everyone understands that there has to be a product has to be created because they're commissioning you, they're asking to be there.
Yeah.
But it's also the experience that's also beneficial to you.
Yes.
As the creator, as the person who's interacting with people on a regular basis, being the dancers. Wonderful. Here comes the moment where I call it the lucky seven. These are quick questions off the top of your head. How do you answer them? So here's number one. What is your favorite drink? It could be non-alcoholic or alcoholic. What's your favorite drink?
Okay, tea.
Tea?
Yes.
Really? What kind of tea?
Kind of green tea.
Oh, green tea?
Or there's a green tea I love. It's called Genmeisha.
Genmeisha?
Yeah.
Where's it from?
I have no idea.
We'll find out.
Yes. But
where would you like to travel to? No restrictions.
Bali, Japan, Argentina, French Polynesia.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I've never been there.
Really far.
I would love to go. And can it be other places I already have been?
Sure, that's fine.
I mean, I love to go every year. I go to India.
Really?
For me, it's my big thing.
Southern India, middle, or
Northern India.
northern India?
Yes.
Closer to like the mountainous-
Close to Nepal.
Oh, Nepal, yeah. Is it for like spiritual practices?
Yes, spiritual
Okay.
practice and yoga and yeah.
Wonderful. Who's your favorite actor? Could be French, could be American.
I don't have any.
That's okay, we'll find him one.
I don't have any.
Do you, when it comes to animals, do you prefer dogs or cats?
I'm not a pet person.
Oh, even
No,
better.
For one reason,
Yes,
I don't like to feel people depending on me.
Oh, and having an animal, the
yeah.
dependence of them.
Yes.
Got it. If there was a person that you could meet tomorrow, who would it be and why? If you were given access, some people say, I love to meet the Prime Minister, I love to meet the Pope, I love to meet a spiritual leader, I love to meet an artist, If someone gave you the option, and tomorrow they open the door for you and they say, Manuel, you get to meet this person, who would it be?
Okay, I'm not going to say any name. I would say I would love to meet like kind of a life master.
A life master.
Someone who is like really wise and have... If I could have met Osho, I don't know if you know Osho, it's an Indian guru, a master. I would have loved to meet him. Now, he died a while ago, but just because he has such a different perception of the world and brings new ideas, when you think of one thing, is saying something totally different, you never thought about it, then I think for me it's so inspiring because it really helps me to open up.
Osho. Got it. I'll have to look into it. If you could learn a language, what would it be?
Right now, Spanish.
Spanish, Español. De
Yes.
España or de Catalan?
Yes, because I know French,
Yeah.
I know English,
Do you know
and
Italian?
few words. Honestly, no, I'm not. But Spanish would really be that's really my goal for this year, just to really start learning Spanish.
Favorite dessert? That's the last one.
Wow. There's something I only know in French. It's called île flottante. It's with white eggs beaten.
Yeah.
And then there's kind of a yellow cream. Or anything with chocolate.
Really?
And I love cheesecake as well.
Really?
I'm very sweet tooth
Oh
person.
my god, I know, me too.
Yeah.
I had to take a break from
Yeah.
anything with sugar in it is good enough for me. I think it's important that artists who are experienced, who've been around, right, who've been doing this for quite some time, to give like a word of advice to the young dancer. What would that be for you?
I would say never give up, always follow your dreams, and perseverance, I think is the key word. Nothing is easy, but like wonderful things can arrive on your path. So
Unexpectedly too.
yes,
Yeah.
so just keep your heads up.
How wonderful. Manuel, it's a pleasure. Thank you so much for doing
Thank
this
you.
interview. I look forward to either coming to the show if I get a chance tomorrow, or the funny thing is on July 27th when it's at Jacob's Pillow, that's my birthday. I turn 36, so if I'm with my kids, maybe we can drive up to
Yes,
Jacob's Pillow and come watch
awesome.
that for the outdoor event. I would highly recommend that you guys who are listening and been following me over the last year and a half with this journey to take a look at Manuel's work. Manuel, what is your website so people can find it?
Yes, it's www.manuelvignoulle, MANUEL, VIGNOULLE.com.
And your company's name is M/Movement, right? M Movement?
Motions.
Motions.
Emotions.
Emotions. I take it back. I apologize. So, again, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
And to the best
Yes,
with your show.
likewise.
everyone, this is Edwin Olvera from Edwin Olvera Dance and Creative Services. And in this particular Saturday session, I have my wonderful friend and former colleague, Annika Schief. Now, she has another name she goes by. It'd be Annika Rinderknecht Schief from the mountains of Guam, something like that. Annika is a former member of Fabulous Dance Theater.